Okay, now we move on to the Ascot Stakes, which is more my territory. It's basically a flat Coral Cup. Speaking of the Coral Cup, Thomas Hobson and Who Dares Wins both ran in that race. Obviously, there's a lot of these jumpers coming back over the flat. I've got a really, really strong fancy in this, but we'll go to Frank first and ask him about the prices for the Ascot Stakes.
Yeah, Thomas Hobson is 11-4. Who Dares Wins 11-2. Beyond Conceit 8-1. Magic Circle 11-1. Rainbow Dreamer 12-1. High Secret, Endless Acres, and Ocean and Cartwright are 14-1, and we're 16-1 bar.
Is this one of those races that you get stuck into, Frank? What do you make of it?
Oh, this is the kind of stuff I love. We're actually paying 5 places in this race as well. But like these handicaps there, yeah, I can't help myself. I have to get involved. And generally would have at least I'd probably have 2 bets in this. And there's 2 that stick out to me a mile. I couldn't have the favourite. I know he's going to be very appealing, be Willie Mullins, Ryan Moore, Rich Ritchie, and you can see people backing him, but I'd be very concerned about him on the ground. All his form before he went jumping was on soft ground. I remember winning in Doncaster very impressively, but it was really, really testing that day. And just in the fast ground, I'd be more than willing to take him on. And this is a race which, funnily enough, punters seem to get right. You don't generally get big price winners. I was reading something there this morning that in the last 8 years we've had no winner bigger than 12-1. So I'm going to stick with 2. I'm going to back 2 each way. Beyond Conceit, Nicky Henderson, Jamie Spencer, and Who Dares Wins, Alan King's horse. First, Beyond Conceit, he was off for 3 years before going hurdling for Nicky Henderson, and amazingly hacked up at Newbury, finished 6th in the Supreme, and was only touched off over 3 miles in the Grade 1 at Aintree.
Extraordinary horse, isn't it?
Unbelievable that he could do that after 3 years off. His mark is absolutely, looks a gift based on his hurdles form, but he was running off similar enough marks and really well back in 2013. He's guaranteed to stay. Jamie Spencer's up. You can see this thing absolutely tanking through the race. I think he's a knocking each way bet, particularly with the 5 places that we're offering. And Who Dares Wins. Look, he ran 3rd in the Coral Cup. He was massive eye catcher in the Chester Cup, staying on late in the day. Again, the trip, no problem to him. I think between the 2 of them, you'll get your winner. Now, if the ground, Magic Circle's one I like, but the ground's against him. He's one to keep an eye on for later on in the year when there's a bit of cut in the ground. But it's those 2 for me against the field.
I agree with you. I'm absolutely all over Beyond Conceit. Sod the each ways. I think he's going to win. Absolutely think he's a cracking horse. He was a bit tripless, wasn't he? Nicky Henderson sort of thought he was a 2-miler, and then he got so close to Aintree over 3 miles. So I think if Jamie can get him settled, he has been quite keen, but he's got the hood on. And I think he's got an absolutely cracking chance. An interesting stat would be that Irish trained horses have actually won 4 of the last 5 runnings of this. Brendan, do you fancy Thomas Hobson, an Irish one, or?
I don't fancy anything in this race.
How can you not? You've just had me and Frank, eulogising about the chance of about 50, and you're saying you don't have any interest.
You pair love a puzzle. Okay, so the problem I have with the race is, again, Frank, the one that I was waiting on was Magic Circle, because Chester was a massive effort in Chester. Ran huge from the draw, but the ground again is a worry. I can see her case for Beyond Conceit, but I couldn't find much pace in this race. Just to make it even trickier, Thomas Hobson has a handy. You're Kidding can sometimes make the run in Mark Johnson style, and Endless Acres likes to be up there. But
hang on. You just said you couldn't find much pace. You've just listed 3.
Yeah, but they're sort of horses who might go well, but it could still turn into a bit of a dawdle. So I don't like that at all.
Right.
In the end, Paddy Power 5 places. Okay, so I'll take a chance on one of the price. Shrewd. It's 33-1. Was 2nd in the Ebor off the same mark. Didn't have a great trip on its comeback in Musselburgh. Was wide all the way, and you always seem to be on the turn in Musselburgh. So I'd give him a pass for that. 33-1, I'll take a chance, but this is minimum stake stuff for me.
Maximum for me and Frank. Nick, where do you stand on it? Are you going to be ploughing into one or not?
Yeah, you can tell you love your jumpers, Maddie. You'd be more enthused about this race than anything else on the first day. But there's some real old favourites going, isn't there? And I would second what Frank said about Who Dares Wins. I thought
I backed him at Chester, so it was a bit annoying for me.
He got the each way money, didn't he? I think he came 4th in the end, but could have finished a bit closer. I thought he's running on well. I think he'll like this trip. He goes well for Tom Marquand, who takes the ride again. I think he's won 3 times times for him already. So there's a lot in his favour. And there's a couple of horses I did fancy, but again, they might have been stymied by the draw. Magic Circle, I think, is 20 of 20, which isn't going to make things easy for him. And my kind of outsider was Charlie Hills's horse, Moorside, who's got Pat Smullen on board. She's in 19, which isn't great either. I think they've just got to drop in and hope for the best and try and pick their way through some horses as the race develops. But Moorside, I watched her at Goodwood earlier in the season. She looked fairly paceless over a much shorter trip then. So I think this massive hike in distance will suit her. And if she was better drawn, then I'd fancy her quite strongly. But I suppose that's factored into the price. And I think she's any price you like, really. But I wouldn't be surprised to see a good run from her. But of those at the front end, yeah, it's Who Dares Wins for me.
Brilliant. Frank, have you got a price for Moorside?
Okay.
I do. We are 25 to 1.
There you go. That's not any price.
It'll do.
Just a quick point on the draw, actually. I don't know whether it's because it's such a long run to the bend or what have you, but high draws don't seem to be a massive disadvantage in this race. Plenty of horses have won in place from high draws, so it might be an angle. It might be something that's over-factored into the price, perhaps.
I was thinking that for such a long race, maybe it's not that important.
I think it's more important that it's such a long run to the bend. Like the mile and a half in Ascot, you don't seem to want to be drawn high at all. But this trip, for some reason, they must run about 5 furlongs before they hit a bend.
Yeah, they have a lot of time to sort of settle themselves down, don't they?
Yeah.
Well, from one of the longest races to short sprint, we'll go on to the Windsor Castle now. Frank, have you got any prices? I know that Wesley Ward's got 2 in the betting that are very prominent in this.
Yeah, well, Aiden's Declaration of Peace is our 7-2 favourite. Elizabeth Darcy is 4 to 1. Wesley Ward's other horse, Nutka Sound, is 5 to 1. Roussel 8 to 1. Another Bat 12 to 1. Corinthian Knight and Simmy's Cop Shop 14 to 1. Sound and Silence is 16 to 1, and we're 20 to 1 bar. Again, we're paying 5 places in this race.
Fabulous. And is it Declaration of Peace for you, or are you looking elsewhere?
Oh, I'll definitely be looking elsewhere. I was just reading again this morning. I was doing a lot of reading this morning, actually. In the last 11 years, we've had 100 to 1, a 33 to 1, 220 to 1, a 16 to 1, a 14 to 1 winner. So it's not a given that market leaders will be to the fore here. A lot of the time, it's a smaller stables can pop up with something that's gone under the radar. And I've picked out 2 at potentially massive prices each way. I'm taking a bit of a chance, but there's a horse of Owen Burrows, I think, Mukatil. He's well bred to be a sprinter. He's by Lethal Force out of Moonlit Garden. Of course, Lethal Force won a July Cup and a Diamond Jubilee. He ran a cracker at Salisbury on debut, travelled really well, was beaten by a nice horse of Rafe Beckett's, who would be prominent enough in the Norfolk market, I'd imagine, called 9 Below Zero. He looked like he'd come on an awful lot for that run. He is, I think he's about 25 or 33 to 1, so I'll definitely be throwing a dart at him each way. And then I've won at an absolute massive price. Now this is a video.
I'm loving this. This is great. We could all just go home now.
This is a video worth watching. There's a horse of George Scott called James Garfield. He ran on debut at Leicester, missed the break by 10 lengths. They rushed him up. He actually traded odds on in the run, believe it or not, before kind of fading late on in the day and finishing third, beaten a length by a horse of richer hands called June Dog. Now, June Dog is 33 to 1. This is 66 to 1. I'd bet my mother James Garfield will beat this June Dog. And on that basis, he should be more like 20s, if not 16s. As I said, we've had massive price winners of this race before. I will definitely be having a cut off the 66 to 1.
I don't think your mum will be too pleased with you.
Oh, really? I've only said that a couple of times and I still have my mum, so...
Okay, well, let's hope you still have your mum after the Windsor Castle. Nick, where are you going with this?
I'm with Frank. I'm going to have a slash at one, a big price in this, field size, etc. I think it's one you can have a dart at. Darheek is the one that's caught my eye. Roger Varian's horse. Varian's in very good form. Easy winner last time at Bath, showed a lot of speed. And a good second on debut behind a horse Clive Cox's called Cody Time. Only disappointing run came in the middle at Chester, drawn a little bit wide and slightly softer ground, probably didn't suit it, by Society Rock, who won the Diamond Jubilee a few years ago at Royal Ascot. So I think... Not sure Frank will be able to elaborate. I think it's about 25 to 1. That would do for me. Darheek.
I think we're 33 to 1.
33, there we
go. Okay, Brendan, over to you next. Anything at massive prices, or are you going to go for something at the head of the market and Go away from the rest of everyone else.
No, this is just a scandal, Maddie. Imagine picking out a 66-1 shot and someone beating you to the punch. I mean, I would just add.
I did hear some sort of noise come from your end.
Well, I was taking it back. I would just add to Frank's very legitimate points about James Garfield that the Wesley Ward pair are drawn 1 and 11, so quite possibly high is the place to, or sorry, the far side is the place to be. And this horse is by Exceeding Excel, who has an exceptional record on the straight course at Ascot. So he was the one I was giving it squeaked at a price.
There you go. You've got plenty to go on in the Windsor Castle. Quickly, I'll do a quick round robin now. This will not be beaten. Who is your nap for day one of Royal Ascot, Nick?
I'll go with Gold Dream in the King's Stand.
Great, big price, nice one. Frank?
Sorry. I'll go with Beyond Conceit in the Ascot Stakes.
I'll be with you. I'll agree with you. Brendan?
I'll go for Barney Roy.